Welcome to the Railway Series Book Club, the podcast where we dissect the Railway Series. I'm Jamie.
I'm Marina.
I'm Liv.
And we hope you enjoy the show. Well, welcome to the Railway Series Book Club, the podcast where we lost the original recording of this episode, so now we're doing it again in what I'm sure will be just a very good episode about a very good locomotive. My name's Jamie. I am your hostess with the mostest, pronouns she, her, and here are my good friends.
Hey Marina, your TV series bitch, she, her.
I'm Liv. I'm the British one.
Oh. Yeah, you finally have a title now, don't you?
Yeah, I found it. What if that's why the episode failed?
Because you gave yourself a title?
Yeah, the show just doesn't want me to have a title.
Well, we'll have to see how this recording turns out.
It's just like,
I guess,
like the omnipotent power of the Railway Series Book Club. You are never to fit in. You are meant to be the weird one.
Where is your god now?
Oh god.
Oh, my god is about 16 books away.
Yeah, okay.
She, her.
Yeah, okay. Today we're gonna be talking about the fourth and final story in Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to think of what to say because we've already said everything in a recording that got fucking thrown in the dick flattener.
I mean, to be fair...
Here's the thing we could talk about. Fucking Carly on Wheels is the greatest fucking character in this franchise. She gave birth to Sandy by the side of her head body thing, opening up like a car's hauler, and then Sandy rolled out of it and jumped onto the rails. That's what happened. It's canon.
The guy who's like producing the reboot or whatever, like, he made a tweet when people were talking about the whole Carly giving birth thing, saying, "I did not say that was a thing." So, like, I'm pretty sure she's not a biological child.
Here's the thing. They called Carly her Sandy or whatever's mom. This is the fucking route we're taking it. That she canonically gave birth. The dad is either fucking cranky or...
See, I was thinking it was going to be Salty just because Salty's a rail vehicle. But Carly's a rail vehicle too now, I guess, so fucking whatever.
I so badly, when like people were saying like Carly was going to be the new breakdown train, I so badly just wanted it to be her head on wheels, and the fact that it is makes me so happy.
The one good thing about this is hopefully we'll get, Trackmaster 2 Carly, which is literally just, that, which would make it just an upgraded version of Trackmaster 2 Kevin.
Exactly. We are actually getting a Trackmaster Carly.
Oh yeah, it's in that one fucking set, isn't it?
Yeah.
2 years too late for her to be relevant. Thomas is depressing. Let's talk about something different, namely Thomas.
That's just everybody on Twitter. Man, Thomas makes me sad. I'm gonna go think about Thomas and stop being sad.
Fucking accept our savior, Lord and Savior B. James into your lives today.
I think for our own sanity, we should start talking about the story. I keep saying episode, I realize. Like, every time we talk about, a chapter in this book, I say episode as if that's how books work.
Well, you're thinking of the superior version of the franchise. Anyway, so do you have any history on this one for us?
I'm sorry, I talked over that. What'd you say?
Oh, I said, do you have any, history or where you want to start with this one?
No, I'm just ready to fucking end this.
Alright, want me to start reading?
Yeah.
Every day, the fat director came to the station to catch his train, and he always said, "Hello," with a U, to Thomas. There were lots of trucks in the yard. Different ones came in every day, and Thomas had to push and pull them into their right places. He worked hard. He knew now that he wasn't so clever as he had thought. Besides, the fat director had been kind to him, and he wanted to learn all about trucks as to be a really useful engine. Trademark. I joke, but the really useful engine bit at the end is cute.
Yeah, it's good. I really like that they capitalize really useful engine in that way. I think it's a great part of Audrey's writing style, is kind of like text posts of today where people will like capitalize certain words for emphasis. I feel like Audrey does a lot of that in his writing, and I just fucking think it's neat.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's also like Thomas is showing character development in this page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
He's not a shithead anymore.
He's realized
Yeah.
he's not hot shit because Gordon taught him the lesson in the first book.
yeah, it's like
Story.
this is very
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just realized I said book.
yeah, the first book, Thomas and Gordon.
Revisionist history is going too far.
Genuine thing. Do you think the series would have done as well if it was one story to each book?
Oh, definitely not. It needs I feel like, having the full arc conveyed throughout the book helps.
Yeah, they're way too short to...
Yeah, that too. These are really short stories. I feel like,
There's a reason that the TV series is only fucking 5 minutes long.
yeah.
And even then, sometimes they had to pad the stories out.
Pad stories out or cut them down,
Or put two in
And
one.
there was that one time that you guys fucking ruined it with Thomas and Percy's mountain adventure just because you cut like half a minute of the episode.
They just didn't fucking bother to resync up the music and audio, so it's just off for the rest of the episode.
God, I fucking lost my train of thought now.
Sorry, I cut you off a bunch of times
It's
with
okay.
random bullshit.
I really like seeing how much Thomas has matured through, like, this section. Like, it explicitly points out that, now he doesn't think he works harder than any other engines anymore. Like, he's not as clever as he once thought. He is matured and developed. It's fucking good. I love this. Also, another thing that's good, the Fat Controller's correspondence with Thomas.
Yeah, no, I was just actually gonna say I love that, and I like that the TV series expands it a bit, so like you actually like hear like a bit of a conversation between them and like the Fat Controllers. I think he says like at this point like you'll know like just as much as Edward, and it's like it's cute. I like it.
Yeah, I think he takes on
just-
some of the like narrated dialogue about Thomas, trying to be a really useful engine trademark.
Yeah.
He says like, oh, don't be impatient. Like, you're not as strong or as fast as Gordon, but you're still really useful.
Yeah.
He's strong in his own way.
Also,
Which
I
we will
just like-
see.
Real way.
I just like the implication that every single morning the Fat Director specifically comes into the yard just to say hello to Thomas.
Yes, that's good. I fucking love this like correspondence they have. Like, the Fat Controllers changed from like a parody of robber baron railway people to be more of like a father figure, which, I feel like,
Is a way better role for him.
Yeah.
like, it's so sweet seeing him be nice to Thomas like this. I enjoy it.
Yeah. He's all of the engine's dad, and it's cute.
Yeah.
He's just like he just comes up to like his young kind of stupid son and is just like, I love you and I'm proud of you and you don't need to keep trying to be better than everyone else because you're great just the way you are.
Yeah.
Also, please don't cause more property damage again. No promises, sir. Sorry.
Like,
I'm going to cause problems on purpose, said Thomas.
So, like, another thing I really like about this page is the illustration, because, like,
Yeah.
this is one of my favorite illustrations in the entire book. When I was a kid, I grew up with the 98 versions of the Railway series books. At least the ones
Yeah.
that they released over here. You know, I'm pretty sure as a kid I had all of them except Duck and the Diesel Engine. For those out of the loop, the 1998 version of the Railway series is like re-releases of some of the books where they have like updated covers and stuff, but they for some reason decided to release the books with a strange illustration style where they like cut up the existing illustrations into little bits and scatter them throughout the page. And then they were surprised when it didn't sell well because of that change.
It's like, being honest,
Metalogic.
I honestly, I like the concept of like little small pieces of a bigger picture spread across the page, but they shouldn't have done it with pre-existing, beautifully done complete sets of art.
Yeah, it just totally butchered the book. I do love those books for their, like, the style of their covers and stuff, but they are, objectively worse than the original publications. But that said, the cover of Thomas the Tank Engine used the first illustration from Thomas and the Breakdown Train, which is this one. And so I always connected it.
Works really well as a cover, and I think I have like a 60th anniversary version of this book, or at least the story, like a couple of the stories, and it uses this image too.
Yeah, it's honestly, I think I like it as a cover more than the really iconic one of Thomas exiting Henry's tunnel, because like I don't know, there's just something more like, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. Maybe it's just nostalgia.
No, honestly, I get what you mean. It makes a good cover. I'm like
Yeah.
I think I prefer the regular cover just because, like, the particular illustration of Thomas on that cover is so incredibly iconic and, like, very much is the basis of how he would later become. Also, this, like, I guess since we're talking about the covers here, I want to say on my set of, like, the complete 26 books, there's a little picture on the spine of each book, and for this one, it is actually the regular, like, original cover, and it's just a little picture of Thomas on the spine. I think that's cute.
oh, that's
Oh.
cool. But on the siding by themselves were some trucks that Thomas was told he mustn't touch. There was a small coach, some flat trucks, and two queer things his driver called the cranes. That's the breakdown train, he said. When there's an accident, the workmen get in the coach. The cranes are for lifting heavy things like engines and coaches and trucks.
So the breakdown train, it does look tiny in this illustration.
The one in the furthest from it, it's smaller than the van in the background. It doesn't even line up with it. It's tiny, and it's not even perspective because those are huge compared to it.
They're just fucking manlets.
There's actually a very small thing I noticed actually just now that I guess we technically didn't talk about in the original, like, Lost recording. If you look at the last illustration in comparison to this one, you can tell that like it's very like green. It's like maybe the summer, and then it's kind of turned to autumn in this page.
Huh.
Huh.
I never actually noticed that. I always thought it was the same day. That's actually really cool.
Yeah,
Nice little passage of time.
Thomas has probably been there for a few weeks.
Also, you can see the shed where Edward and Philip live post season 21. That's totally what it is.
I mean, this is Wellsworth, so
Yeah, which is cool.
See, I'm trying to remember if in the Railway series Edward actually does live at Wellsworth, because like
I don't think we see where Edward lives past a certain point.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if that's in any of like the books or something, or if fans just invented that.
I feel like they say he lives there, but you never see him there.
I guess there's a reason.
Oh fuck! I'm stupid. Edward literally says in the last story, "home," and we made a big deal out of that because like when he said home, that meant Wellsworth. So Edward does live there. I'm just fucking stupid.
No, you're not stupid. I didn't remember that.
I don't think any of us remembered that. This is the thing, right? When it comes to this show, I learn things in the recording. It's like, oh, that's really interesting, and then I forget as soon as we're done recording.
Producing the show is wild sometimes.
That water
It doesn't
tower
help
is
that we record these weeks apart. So there's
the water tower in the first image is what a copper cab is, right?
Marty, shut up.
So on the topic of the breakdown train, Judy and Jerome, they're characters that exist, but only in The Adventure Begins and slightly afterwards.
Okay, but I actually really like Judy and Jerome, and I still find it
Oh, they're great.
I still find it
Yeah.
amazingly ironic that the breakdown train got replaced by Rocky because Rocky has a face. But then Rocky got replaced by Judy and Jerome because Judy and Jerome have faces and a personality.
Yeah. God.
Rocky really had no discernible personality.
90% of the hit era model era characters didn't have a personality.
Yeah, that was kind of their thing. See, I'm kind of ambivalent to Judy and Jerome within The Adventure Begins. Like, obviously, it makes sense to give them faces, because, honestly, it would have been weird if they didn't. But, at the same time, them having faces doesn't really do anything to change the story at all. Only adds some cute dialogue, and that's really it. But, I am glad that they did exist, because, we got the breakdown train back in CGI, and then they had episodes about them that made them more interesting.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
I love the missing breakdown train.
It's a really good episode. I really like that they were essentially an expansion to the Harwick crew,
Yeah.
Yeah, I also like that, it's essentially just the Harwick crew, essentially relaying them from place to place.
Yeah.
And then Skiff's just yeah, they left. I don't know where they went.
I thought for a sec you were gonna say Skiff tried to pull them, which I wanted to see.
That'd be fun, honestly. I'm honestly sad that we never got to see an episode where Skiff tried to pull a train.
Yeah.
God, I'm sure in the reboot Skiff is gonna show up again. Skiff's literally just gonna be the fucking same. Just, the wheels are now bolted to the side of his hull. Nothing matters anymore.
No, I feel like they would keep his spinny thing just so when he jumps he can move even more than they do in the reboot stuff.
God.
I will say I do think his spinny thing is cute.
I liked Phil. I was gonna say Phillips. Skiff spin. Philip is cute. By the way, I think we talked about this in the last recording too.
Oh yeah, we did!
Philip is cute, y'all are just mean.
Philip is supposed to be an analog to when Thomas used to be little and excitable. And it's very obvious because they draw that parallel within the episode.
Yeah.
And it came out in the 70th anniversary year. But, fucking whatever.
Philip sleeps in a race car bed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's just canon. He was at the Steamworks and they were like, "What color do you want?" It's a race car. I want that. And Victor's okay.
God, I think we talked about that when we were talking about James and colors.
Oh yeah. We'll get to James. Is there anything else we want to talk about on this page?
There is the whole queer thing. God, I don't even know if I can, do better than I did last time talking about that, but, fucking...
Take your time, Jamie.
So, Audrey in this story, and in some others, uses the word queer in its old English meaning, as in strange. A lot of people have tried to, compare this to the time when he used a very specific racial slur in a later book.
Yeah.
But they are really, really not the same, because for one thing, queer actually had an old meaning before it became, slang or a slur or whatever. Honestly, Audrey's usage of this word here and in other stories is fine. At least in my opinion, and, our opinion, just because, it's not being derogatory, and also just, you know, queer has been reclaimed for a long time by the LGBTQIA plus community. It's only very recently that people have been trying to actively unreclaim it, and when I say people, I mean TERFs, because, you know, the word is far too vague for their liking, so, you know, every other reclaimed slur is fine. You know, literally every word we use to refer to ourselves is coded in our blood and, you know, still used by other people to degrade us. But, you know, every other word is fine, except for queer for some reason. I wonder why these people who want to exclude certain groups from the LGBT community want to get rid of this word that could be broadly applied to everyone or anyone who's questioning. I wonder why.
TERFs are fucking pieces of shit.
Yes, fuck TERFs.
Fuck TERFs.
Fuck TERFs, trans rights. It's probably, you know, way too in our own self-interest to say, you know, fuck TERFs and trans rights.
Still, fuck them.
Yeah.
You know,
We have
think
reasons
all three
to
of
say
us
it.
are completely valid in saying it, and also everyone should say it.
Yeah. Fuck TERFs, trans rights.
This is the thing. I'm just gonna say, if you watch this show and you don't say fuck TERFs, fuck you.
If you watch the show, more
it.
importantly, if you watch the show and say I don't like trans rights or whatever, then you're just fucking a waste of human life.
I haven't been on any of our Twitter accounts.
No, clearly not.
Especially mine.
So yeah, basically, the way Audrey uses the word queer is fine. I totally understand why they removed it in later versions, like the TV series, just because, like, you know, it could be misconstrued, which, you know, fair.
Especially, like, in the 80s.
Yeah, you know, that was, you know, prime slur-throwing time, I think. But, you know, the word's reclaimed, no matter what TERFs try to tell you, you know, every word we have is coded in our own blood. It's, you know, the way Audrey uses it in these books is the least of our concerns.
I find it very interesting that they kept it in later printings.
I think that's just because they didn't, like, care or notice.
That's true.
I don't know.
It was probably the kind of thing where it was too small compared to
The
other
thing.
one, to where,
Yeah.
like you said, it had a genuine meaning when it was written. So, like, they just left it, but like made sure to change it in like the TV series and stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't know, with this whole thing, I'm kind of of two minds about it, because, like, obviously there's no problem with how Audrey used it, because, again, like that other incident that everyone should know what we're referring to, it had a meaning that wasn't a slur at one point, and it's like this is a tangent, but the whole, like, reclaim thing, it is, I don't know, I'm of a mixed mind about it, because
Like, there are still people who will use it as a slur.
yeah, and it's like,
And that sucks.
Yeah.
Like that word does not belong in their mouths. It belongs in our mouths.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because, like, I use it, like, to identify myself, and, like, I'm always completely fine with that, and, like, other, like, LGBT people using it, or people using it, like, to refer to us in, like, a non-derogatory way. But then, like, I still know people who use stuff like queer and, like, gay as insults, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, don't be an asshole, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Don't say slurs you're not qualified to use, I guess.
It just astonishes me how many people in this fandom don't, like, get the idea of, like, don't be an asshole, because it's like, that's what every story in this franchise is about, pretty much.
Yeah,
in some
like-
way.
Like, it's just so antithetical to the point of Thomas, but they do it anyway.
I guess to, like, date this episode, like, recording a bit, me and Mari earlier today just watched Titus Rescue's newest video, and, like, I said like when Gordon crashes, like, it's Gordon's first experience with Sodor's magical talk shit, get hit aura.
He derails immediately after he says something like dickish. It's amazing.
That was a very good video. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
He's a thoroughbred.
He sure is.
I don't like him.
God, I really like the way they use thoroughbred to refer to Gordon, and it just, every time they said it, it reminded me of, like, you know, the description of Henry as a thoroughbred in, like, the Elaine era character descriptions.
Oh yeah, they did say that.
I feel like that does a very good job of balancing out Henry's sick and finicky side with his strong and hardworking side. Thoroughbred horses are very effective and, you know, good at doing what they do, but at the same time, they're also very high-strung, and if everything's not just quite so, they'll just shut down.
I never actually thought about it, but that really is perfect.
Yeah.
Is very similar to Henry, because, like, I guess, like, to, like, talk about, like, a fan thing again very briefly, one of my favorite descriptions of Henry before he got rebuilt was from the Master of the Lemons video, where they talk about how Henry never gave up and he always, like, pulled himself to the platform. Because he always tried his best, even if things weren't working out for him.
Yeah. Henry's cool. I can't wait till we get to talk more about Henry, even though that book is kind of, like, poorly paced and whatever. But anyway.
I mean, we'll be able to talk about Henry and... Or no, he doesn't appear again until Thomas in the Garden, to be sure. Anyway.
I think he makes a cameo in, like, the James the Red Engine, but, like, every other story he appears in, his character arc doesn't really matter until Henry the Green Engine, which is, you know, that's probably where we'll get the most mileage out of talking about Henry's character arc.
One day, Thomas was in the yard when he heard an engine whistling, "Help! Help!" and a goods train came rushing through much too fast. The engine, a new one called James, was frightened. His brake blocks were on fire, and smoke and sparks streamed out on each side. "They're pushing me! They're pushing me!" he panted. "On! On! On! On!" laughed the trucks. And still whistling, "Help! Help!" Poor James disappeared under a bridge. "I'd like to teach those trucks a lesson," said Thomas, the tank engine. Trademark.
I love how it's capitalized there.
Yeah! And they had to use the full, like, name just for some reason.
I guess maybe, like, it's a reinforcement, because I don't think they haven't called him Thomas the Tank Engine since the cover of the book.
Yeah.
I mean, why did they need to remind us then that Thomas is a tank engine?
Well, he lives at a big station on the island of Sodor.
But he's
Yes,
living at a
Smallville.
smaller station right now.
He didn't want to see the whole world, just a little bit.
On that note, this is James's debut, which...
Yes, James! I love James. He's my favorite.
Is James?
Jimsy.
You know, like, I think it's like Mike O'Donnell at the end of, like, James the Really Splendid Engine. Just
There's James.
It's indisputable, but let's take a vote.
He's the really splendid engine with the bright red coat.
That song is good.
It's so good. God, I fucking love James. Like, okay, I really love this introduction too, because, like, when I never had Thomas and the Breakdown Train as an episode as a kid, so basically the first time I experienced the story was reading this book.
Same, actually.
And seeing James in black just fucking blew my mind. It was
Yeah,
like,
no, same.
oh my god, he wasn't always red? Whoa, that's so cool!
You know, it was really cool seeing it, like, for me, too, because, like, I hadn't seen the episode, so I didn't know this was James's debut, or that, like, he was black, and, like, both of those were just really cool to me.
Yeah, and it made me really happy when they brought Black James back for the Adventure Begins, just because, like, it's so fucking cool, even if it's, you know, a mid-Brenner era CGI James, where it's kind of, he's just kind of a dipshit all the time. I'm still a slut for James recolors. Like, you know, every time there's a new one in the show, I'm just like, oh, that's cool. And, like, if they had made actual accessible merch of fucking Tickled Pink James or any of the recolors from Engine of Many Colors, I would have bought those in a heartbeat because James Stan over here.
I'm the bitch that owns Bachman B. James, so.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We all have the sickness.
I meant to say. You go, Liv.
Genuine thing, Mary. Would you buy Bachman Tickled Pink James?
I don't know.
I would buy Tickled Pink James.
I might. The thing is it's like Origins James is just cool, and B James I bought from the meme, but it's like, and because like I honestly legitimately find it funny for some reason having it, but like I don't even know if I'm gonna get Yellow Rheneas or anything, just because it's like
Yellow Rheneas is a lot more niche and a lot less funny, I think.
Yeah.
Like, the Skarloey stuff is already super niche because it's like HON3, but like, you know, adding like a super niche recolor onto that, I feel like is kind of
I really feel like Yellow Rheneas was probably like, I could see them maybe like not having Duncan be in like Blue Mountain Mystery and then just have him show up at the end there.
That was probably the plan before they realized they couldn't get the measurements for him.
Yeah.
And then Ark made Duncan and he looks like death.
Yeah. I do wonder what Bachman's plan for Duncan is, but I highly doubt they're gonna like get to making him before they do Peter Sam or Sir Handel or Victor or Luke. Like, they're probably just gonna cycle through as many narrow gauge engines that are in CGI as they can before they get to Duncan.
I feel like they'll make Duncan before doing like Luke or Victor or like Duke.
Honestly, I really hope they do Victor at some point, just because like Victor's cool.
Yeah, I can totally see them doing a Victor and maybe even a Millie at some point. I don't know if she'd sell well, but Victor definitely would.
I don't know about Millie, but I feel like enough people are like really into Victor that they would get him.
Yeah.
Especially considering he's like, you know, tied to a really cool place on Sodor and not just like a fucking gimmick place like Ulfstead Castle.
Yeah, true. And they can
Don't be fucking mean to Ulfstead Castle. Ulfstead Castle has the Earl.
Like, okay,
I love
Ulfstead Castle having the Earl is cool, but like, I mean...
Well, I mean, you could argue the Steamworks was a gimmick because it was kind of...
Well, yeah, it is a gimmick to sell toys, but at the very least, it's a gimmick to sell toys that like fills a gap in the TV series Sodor, which is like they never ever showed the proper works.
I will say we are getting a little bit off topic now.
Yeah, we're way too off topic. I might have to prune this down.
Going back to Black James, I actually like how they portray James in The Adventure Begins, because like in his first scene is, I think it's like at the beginning of Edward and Gordon, where like
it's like like Gordon's like, oh, he's much too small to be really useful, and James is like, I'm not small.
Yeah, and then like he gets like self-conscious when like they mention his breaks and everything, and like when Thomas shows up, it's like the first time he's been around someone smaller than him, and then like at the end he kind of has like a bit more confidence and is like his like, it's like, you look great, James. I know.
Yeah,
like it's a
it's
small
laying
arc,
the seed...
but I like it.
Yeah, it's like laying the seeds for his greater character development, which
yeah,
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of James in The Adventure Begins is like kind of incompatible with James from the Railway series, you know, not... And I've realized that's kind of a weird thing to say considering they're entirely incompatible, considering James was on Sodor before Thomas, but also just in characterization, because James has been exposed to Gordon for longer,
yeah,
which has got to have affected him, and like, because he's clearly trying to like cotton on to Gordon or just be like him in that film.
I believe I mentioned this in the original recording. There's like this in the sequence where Thomas is like, "Oh, I'm blue," and then they're like, "Oh, the last number one was a coffee pot." It's like James is very clearly trying to imitate Gordon.
yeah.
And like, there's like the scene where like the shot where like Gordon starts leaving and James doesn't realize, and then he gets like self-conscious and just stops and goes with Gordon.
Yeah. I feel like in the Railway series, James wouldn't have started life like that. Getting into, like, the basis stuff, everyone's favorite part. In the big old lore books, they say that the class that he was based on were, like, generic 060 tender engines that were used for goods and occasionally passenger stuff. The specific class Audrey pointed out as James's basis was, like, a class of 060s that had, like, a problem where, like, they were too front-heavy when they were running at speeds, which they would need to during their work. So we basically just kind of made up a story where the guy who designed those tried to make, like, a revised version, which ended up being James, where he had the longer front and the extra little leading wheels. But James didn't end up producing the results that he wanted, so at some point he just sold James to the Northwestern. So I feel like James, being an entirely unique locomotive, and being sold off for being that, he didn't live up to his expectations as a unique locomotive, and so was being sold off for being unique. And I feel like James would not have been proud of himself before his accident. Because, like, not only he was essentially being, like, treated negatively for his uniqueness, in a sense.
Yeah.
So then after his crash, and he goes to be repaired, he's given an entirely unique livery and being praised for how splendid and special he is. I feel like that kind of, like, went to his head a bit and made him, like, kind of an attention seeker. Kind of in the same way that he is in The Adventure Begins around Gordon, in a sense.
This is a really small thing I just noticed. James doesn't have his brass dome yet.
Oh yeah, no, he doesn't.
He doesn't have, like, any, like... I guess, like, that could have been another thing they added to make him feel special. They made him, like, shiny.
He's very plain looking, which is pretty much the furthest thing than what James normally is.
Yeah.
But it's also very fitting of how an engine like James would be treated outside of Sodor. He wouldn't... Like, an engine like James off of the island would not be treated like anything special.
Yeah.
But then, like, he comes to the railway and, like, he is special. And, like, they treat him as such, and they look after him, and they make him feel loved.
Yeah, it speaks volumes to, like, how much the people on Sodor really do care about their engines, and kind of lays the seeds for how Sodor is just better than the mainland when it comes to treating their engines.
Yeah.
I would argue Sodor is just better than the mainland, period.
I mean, yeah. That's kind of the point later on.
Yeah.
I think Scotsman says it.
Honestly, a take that I haven't seen anyone try, but I think would be neat, is that, a potential backstory change to James could be that he is originally just a bog-standard 060, but when he's transferred to Sodor and has his accident, basically at the works, they turn him into the 260 weirdo we know and love. So that could explain away why his basis doesn't match up. It's just, he was normal, but as soon as he came to Sodor, he wasn't anymore.
Which ironically made him fit in.
Yeah.
Which is the good description of Sodor. Nothing makes sense, everything is weird, just accept it.
Yeah, like, honestly, that's something I kind of like about the backstories to all the engines in the Island of Sodor books.
There's, like, that none of them really quite make sense, but, like, they all kind of fit together.
Yeah, it's like, it's easy to clown on all the convoluted backstories for Henry and Gordon and James and, all of them, all the original 6. But, like, they're all weirdo misfits, and I think that works really well for them because, on any other railway, they would be ostracized, except for, like, maybe Gordon. But, they have formed their own community on this little island offshore, and they're happy with each other, and it does kind of lay the seeds for, like, Sodor just becoming, like, the home to any kind of weirdo engine who wants to live.
Yeah, as long as they're really useful, it doesn't matter.
They're a family, and they're a dysfunctional family, but they're still a family.
Yeah, it's... Yeah.
I also think it's very appropriate that Toby is the first engine that really makes sense basis-wise.
Yeah. I mean, technically Henry too. But that's, I don't know if calling, like, an in-series rebuild a retcon makes sense, but whatever.
I love how they do the spark effect in the TV series, even if it's just in one shot. Like, where they have, like, the little, like,
that's good.
sparkler, like, paper, like, under James. It just looks cool. And also, poor James, because I'm pretty sure this is canonically his first day, and, like, even when I didn't know that, that's, like, how I took it. And it's, like, like, normally when he gets into shit, it's his fault. But with this, it's not. It's his first time on the island. He probably hasn't met anyone before passing Thomas. I wouldn't be surprised if this is his first train.
Yeah, like, it probably is his first train, period, just because, like, one, in James the Red Engine, they say that, it's the accident on his first day, so you are right, it is the first thing. Yeah, okay. But also just, like, this is probably the first train he's taken, just because, like, in the next book, they say that he lives at the other end of the line, which would be, Tidmouth. So, like, he has to go down Gordon's Hill to get there. So, like, he's probably just taking the very first train to Sodor in an attempt to get to where he's supposed to live now, and then he just fucking eats shit.
No, that implies that he didn't even make it to where he's going to live and Thomas had to bring him.
God.
James arrives on the island and is, like, probably, like, really self-conscious because this might be his first train ever, considering he's a failed prototype. And then, like, a failure in his design that he can't control just causes him to crash on his first day.
Yeah. Albeit, the wooden brakes aren't really a failure unique to James's design, but we'll get to that.
I will say, like, because Mari mentioned it, this like with, like, well, not, she didn't mention it, but she mentioned, like, the sparks. The adventure begins where, like, the brakes finally give out, and there's just nothing left for him to hold with.
Oh my god, I love that! Like, just, like, seeing them, like, burn up, like, in Thomas's face. It's really good.
It's very good. The whole runaway scene is kind of, like, really cool, but it's also really stupid.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where it's, like, it's totally unrealistic. You could argue it didn't need to be there. But, like, I honestly legitimately really enjoy it, and, like, it feels like what Thomas's reaction would be to that situation. Like, to just, like, immediately run off to try and help.
Yeah, I feel like more so CGI Thomas, just because, like, CGI Thomas, tends to get himself more into shit than, at least not in the same way that, Railway Series Thomas does.
It's definitely a result of the characterization he has, like, in the TV series, but I guess that's part of why I like it, because it, like, not highlights the difference. Kinda, actually. It's adapted to fit the characters, which is what, like, The Adventure Begins did really well, and, like, yeah. Presently, a bell rang in the signal box, and a man came running. "James is off the line! The breakdown train! Quickly!" he shouted. Thomas was coupled on. The workmen jumped into their coach, and off they went. Thomas worked his hardest. "Hurry, hurry, hurry," he puffed, and this time he wasn't pretending to be like Gordon. He really meant it. Bother those trucks and their tricks, he thought. I hope poor James isn't hurt. I love all of this.
It's more of that fucking growth.
Yeah, no, the fucking...
Like, he's not pretending to be like Gordon anymore. He really means it. It's so fucking good. I love this fucking parallel so much.
Oh my god.
Like, the illustration even kind of looks like the illustration from Thomas and Gordon.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Also, I like that Thomas is, like, concerned, like, vocally concerned about James. Like, it's cute.
Yeah.
And, like, he literally just met... they haven't even directly met. He saw James run past screaming and, like, literally just learned his name from the guy saying he got into an accident. And, like, it's sweet.
Like, the fact that he already cares, like, that shows a lot about, Thomas just being a caring person.
It is, and I really like that.
It also shows that he has empathy, because, like, he knows how that feels.
Yeah.
He just went through this, so he gets it.
And Thomas is, like, genuinely caring behind all of his Thomasness. And, like, it's part of what makes him such an endearing character.
Yeah.
I want to say the Steam looks really good.
Oh, it does. It's very good.
The early books draw Steam so well.
I wonder if that's
Yeah.
why Audrey kept Dalby for so long.
You're a fuck up, but I quite like the way you draw the Steam, so I think I'll keep you around.
God.
That does seem like something he would say.
Yeah.
They found James in the trucks at a bend in the line. The brake fan and the last few trucks were on the rails, but the front ones were piled in a heap. James was in a field with a cow looking at him, and his driver and fireman were feeling him all over to see if he was hurt. Never mind, James, they said. It wasn't your fault. It was those wooden brakes they gave you. We always said they were no good.
They want to make sure he's okay.
Yeah. Like, they're just... God, I love that. Like,
Same.
they're so nice to him.
It's cute.
They're they're like, are you okay, James? Are you hurt? Like, don't worry. It wasn't your fault. Don't feel
Yeah.
bad.
All the trucks that are behind him are fucking dead.
They are annihilated. Like,
Yeah.
the one on his tender is just in splinters.
Yeah. It's like, you know, I was saying this last time, but I feel like part of the reason the trucks are so easily annihilated in, like, illustrations and TV series is just because, like, you know, there isn't as much, like, sentiment, I guess, for the rolling stock. So...
I guess we never see a truck with a face get destroyed on screen necessarily.
No, we do. Spotless record.
Oh yeah, do they fix that one or?
There's also the spiteful brake van and Scruffy, but like honestly, I feel like the silly trucks in Spotless Record are probably the most gruesome just because they fucking telescope into each other. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, did they fix them after that? You think, or
You don't even see their faces in the wreckage, so I think they just died on impact.
Yeah, like, you know, no sympathy for rolling stock. They're just stacks of timber held together with glue and hope.
no wonder they want to
But-
die.
Yeah, like, I do think it would be funny if essentially the trucks were essentially just fucking googly eyes plastered onto some planks of wood, and like, or maybe, I do think it would be kind of funny in a morbid way if after crashes, their faces were still on like the fucking front plank of wood or whatever, and we're still like talking and stuff. So it's just like, yeah, they're fine. We'll just fucking bolt them to another truck.
You're right. I just looked at the images for Spotless Record. You don't see any of the truck's faces after that.
They're just
Oh
fucking
my
dead.
god.
They died on impact.
Look, telescoping is real and it's fucked up, man.
What
Like-
the fuck?
You know, just one coach just fucking like slides inside the other. All those people are fucking dead. That's why anti-climber buffers exist.
Oh my god. Yeah, I always swore you saw one of the truck's faces, but
One of the like, you know, unnoticed truck deaths that I really like is like one of the ones from I think it's Harvey to the Rescue, where like the trucks kind of fall off and you can see the front of one of the trucks falling
the
off.
little face building, like face part, kind of goes like.
Yeah, kind of like lifts open and spills out the front. I just really love the one video someone made of that like cropped image with like a fucking I don't know what language it is, but some foreign language version of Happy. By
nice.
Farrell.
If you ever find that, send it. I want to see it.
I'm pretty sure it's pinned on that account. I'll see if I can send it to you.
This
What the
is-
fuck
this is a-
point
this
were
is
we
like-
even trying to get across?
We're talking about
Truck
trucks.
deaths.
We're just talking about truck carnage.
I want to
It's
say something
fine.
I want to say something very quickly. I pointed this out in the original recording. James has the fence wrapped around his buffer beam.
Yeah,
Which is a really cool touch.
I love the attention to detail
Like
in
he
these
just
books.
he,
It's so
he
good.
just pulled the spikes from the ground and they just wrapped around him.
Oh my god.
Now, since we're on the topic of the crash, Adventure Begins is metal as shit.
Yes, it's so good. Like, you know,
It is.
the runaway chase may be ridiculous, but it's all worth it to see the fucking shot of James hitting the ground and eating shit. It's so good.
He looks so sad.
Yeah. And like how detailed like the damage and like the grass, like it's really well done.
Yeah. Also, I had it in my notes that like the wooden brakes thing. Like I had it written in my notes that like, you know, I would explain that, you know, a lot of engines around this time would have wooden brake blocks as a standard feature, and that they worked well until they didn't, in case Mari like didn't know that. But then before we recorded the last time, Mari said, "Oh yeah, I already knew that." And now I just feel like a dick for having that written there.
Hey, trust me, I've not known things that are like way more. I should have known it than this, so don't worry. You're
Barrow in Furness is a real place.
I think we should move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Thomas pushed the breakdown train alongside. Then he pulled the unhurt trucks out of the way. "Oh dear! Oh dear!" they groaned. Serves you right, puffed Thomas crossly. When the men put other trucks on the line, he pulled them away too. He was hard at work, puffing backwards and forwards all the afternoon. "This'll teach you a lesson, this'll teach you a lesson," he told the trucks, and they answered, "Yes, it will! Yes, it will!" in a sad, groany, creaky sort of voice.
First of all, I really like this illustration because like the way the steam kind of puffs out of
Yeah.
Thomas's funnel looks very strong.
Huh.
And I like that. I like that Thomas is being stern with the trucks in the book, but he isn't like, you know, physically hitting them for what they've done. You know, I think that's good. I like that he's not, you know.
This is the thing. Thomas hitting the trucks gave us the sequence where, like, he hits the truck and then it hits into the truck on the hoist and the music is perfectly in time with all of it.
Yeah, that is good, but
He hits it, and hits the hoist, bounces back.
that had to have been an ad lib on set.
No, it absolutely was, and I love it.
And then like so, like one of like the crew's like, "Oh, do you think we should re-record?" David's just like, "No."
No, we're fucking using that.
David Mitten probably like howled on set and was like, "I'm putting that in."
It's so perfect.
Yeah.
Like I love the fact that fucking Mike and Junior were specifically like, "Let's put in a specific sting for this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, damn, you know. I love it.
Yeah, it's so good. Other than that, I don't feel like there's an awful lot to say about this page.
No, it's a pretty simple page. All things
Shout
considered.
out to Johnny Morris, I think his name is, the Railway
Yes.
Series narrator. Shout out to his truck noises. They're
Yeah.
as always fucking godly. I love them.
You can. I will say, I prefer Willie Rushton, but you can tell Morris is having a ton of fun.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
He is loving it.
When did Rustin take over?
I feel
I
like
think
there's some books that where both of them recorded stories for it.
I
But I think Rustin
I-
took over in full sometime around like Edward the Blue Engine, I think.
I actually looked this up because I was having a conversation with a non-fandom member who's a big fan of Thomas, who like I mentioned the Railway Series adaptations, and I looked it up. I believe he started in Edward the Blue Engine.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Huh. I'm gonna miss Morris's truck noises when we get there.
Aw.
Yeah. Well, that's a long time away, so you'll have time to mourn, I guess.
They left the broken trucks and mended the line. Then, with 2 cranes, they put James back on the rails. He tried to move, but he couldn't, so Thomas helped him back to the shed. The fat director was waiting anxiously for them. "Well, Thomas," he said kindly, "I've heard all about it, and I'm very pleased with you. You're a really useful engine. James shall have some proper brakes and a new coat of paint. And you," dramatic pause, "shall have a branch line all to yourself." "Oh, sir," said Thomas happily.
Okay, so before we talk about any of the dialogue, I love this illustration, and I
Oh,
really
yeah.
wish the TV series adapted them properly.
Just like the thing of like Thomas pulling James like cab first.
Yeah, and without the tender, like I really like that. It's based on this one specific image of like, a little pug pulling like a castle or something by the cab in a similar fashion. And I really wish that either the TV series or The Adventure Begins had done it like this, just because this is a really good visual.
Also, I'm gonna bring up the thing that we all really liked that I pointed out last time, of in Thomas's train when he's like he's proud of himself and he's looking out for like people waving at him, and there's people in this illustration waving at him, and like now that he's focused on the job, he doesn't even notice.
Yeah, like this, it's such a fucking good parallel. I love it.
It's such a small detail I didn't notice, like, or even think about until you pointed out, and it's so fucking perfect. And like, thank you again for catching that. Because,
Yeah,
oh
thank
my
you.
God.
It makes it even better.
It's just like he wanted to prove he was the best, and then when he actually proved that he was like the best, he wasn't even thinking about it.
Yeah, it just shows how much he's grown, and I love it. So, like, onto the dialogue. Scott Matt calls him a really useful engine trademark. Very, very happy. Definitely
Sweet.
proved himself. I do like how he points out that, James is gonna be fine. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if Audrey was planning on writing stories about James at this point in time. So this, if this could be a sequel hook, oh, James is getting a new coat of paint and he's going to be okay. Oh, I'm interested in this. But, if it's not supposed to be a sequel hook, like, if Audrey wasn't planning on writing any more stories, this is good reassurance that, James is going to be just fine, you guys.
'Cause
it's nice to let the kids know that like there's nothing to worry about with him. He's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't have if there wasn't a whole franchise by the point where I read this.
Yeah, the whole franchise where James is an integral component is kind of a bit of a spoiler.
But, like, if I didn't know that, I would be like, wait, was James okay?
Yeah.
Like, it's sweet.
You think about how James doesn't actually speak in this story.
No, he does. He yells help.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot.
they're
Honestly,
pushing me.
it was so inconsequential that I forgot.
We just hear him
Yeah,
panicking.
James is kind of a nothing character in this book, but just like it's only really in retrospect where James becomes interesting in this book. But like, I am a James stan, so I pointed it out anyway.
It's a really cool start to say.
Yeah.
When you mentioned James starts becoming interesting, my brain immediately went to James default dancing on Edward's engine.
James, stop default dancing on my engine.
Whatever you say, Mr. Receding Hairline.
That animation is godlike.
Also, now that Thomas become a really useful engine, he's given a promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool.
I just want to say I love every version of this scene because, like, in the book, it's just cute and like specifically saying that, like, when he says like, "Well, Thomas," it's like really like kindly and like happily, and like Thomas's reaction, and then like in the TV series, like, I don't know why, like, I always liked like the visual of like it like outside the shed at like sundown. Like, it looked nice.
That's so good.
I love An Adventure Begins when like all the engines are in the shed and like that's when he announces
they're all and like all the workmen are like cheering for him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, it's
and
really
it's at like the
cute.
very end of the like new version of Thomas's theme.
Yeah. Which every version of this is great and like it's the perfect ending to this because now he gets his own small part of the world.
Yeah.
This is a very small thing I just noticed. I think like they might have just gone through Wellsworth in this illustration because that might be the bridge next to the shed.
Oh yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That's the one James passes under, right?
It's the one like
so.
I don't think it's the one he passes under in the illustration, but he does come by the shed, so I assume he probably did come under it.
Oh, okay.
There are a lot of nice little small bits of continuity in this book.
I just remembered a tangent that we went on last time that I really want to talk about again. You know how, like, all the RWS accurate Thomas whatevers, they'll, like, give him a Westinghouse pump because that's supposed to be for an air brake, and the E2s
Yeah.
had those in real life, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Northwestern Railway never used air brakes. They only have the vacuum brakes, and you can tell because they have the little black vacuum brake pipes. And, you know, they bring it up in the next book, in that one story with the bootlace. And, like, you know, all the engines in the TV series have the little black brake pipes, too. So, and they just don't have air brakes on Sodor, apparently. So having a
Except
Westinghouse
Colby,
pump on
though.
Thomas is, in fact, Railway Series inaccurate.
So what you're saying that raises the question of why they like left it on. Like, I'm pretty sure Ryan has one, and I think Nia has one too.
I think that's just the modelers not knowing,
Yeah.
or at the very least not caring,
Or
and
you
just, you know,
You could say that.
It's like a genuine thing. I'm really surprised they left Nia's Westinghouse pump on her in the reboot.
yeah, that's really
Yeah.
weird. Why'd they do that? Why'd they give her one at all? God, I can't fathom why, like, in the, like, late CGI era, they really wanted to, like, have all of the engines be, like, super accurate to their bases, despite, like, you know, making it very clear that they do not want to adhere to reality.
It's like this is the thing. Like, I've gone on fucking so many tangents about this in group chats. It's just like they designed all the late CGI characters to be really realistic, but then they were like, oh well, they don't fit in with the old characters, so clearly we need to fucking ruin these 30-plus-year-old, like, tried and tested beloved designs by throwing a bunch of random bullshit on them.
Rivets.
Rivets.
Just a frog that goes rivet. That's the source of all the rivets.
I sent the fucking day they showed off the redesigns. I sent so many people. I sent in a group chat just rivets multiple times. I didn't say anything about it. I would just say rivets.
Mari's frog
the,
impression, everyone.
Mari, the mention of a frog just reminded me of the fucking season 3 reference image that stopped you from having a panic attack.
Oh my god, yeah, okay, so story time. I was driving home once, and then I got pulled over by a cop who very clearly was looking for drunk people. I wasn't drunk, I was driving home from my fucking friend's house, and we'd been playing, like, Smash Bros. And stuff. And, like, he was like, the cop pulled me over, he shined the flashlight in, I was sitting there, like, terrified looking with my backpack next to me and, like, wearing a fucking Dragon Ball t-shirt with, like, Frieza and Goku prominent, and the guy was just like, so where are you heading? And I'm like, home. He's like, what do you have in the bag? And I was like, my Switch and my PS4. And he was just like, okay, let me see your license. He was just like, yeah, you were tailgating the car, you're fine. So I was like panicked after. So then, like, I had pulled over, I was talking to Liv, and this was the day where, like, they posted, like, all the season 3 reference images. And she just sent me the frog one, where it's between the rollers, and it fucking killed me and cured my depression, like, in the moment.
Like, I'm pretty sure you, like, after I sent it, you specifically said, I think this image just stopped me from having a panic attack.
Yeah, it did. It's the thing. I have no idea why, but it just made me laugh to the point I wasn't thinking about what I was, like, terrified over. Now Thomas is happy as can be. He has a branch line all to himself and puffs proudly backwards and forwards with 2 coaches all day. He is never lonely, because there is always some engine to talk to at the junction. Edward and Henry stop quite often and tell him the news. Gordon is always in a hurry and doesn't stop, but he never forgets to say poop poop to little Thomas, and Thomas always whistles beep beep in return. The end.
God,
I love this
this is
ending.
such a good ending. It's so good. Like, first of all, just, little like weirdo fact, like Annie and Clarabelle aren't named here, and that's probably because Audrey hadn't remembered that Annie existed yet, because Annie in her original form was like a little coach that Audrey and his brother made for a little like Clockwork Quarry layout they wanted to make, which was called like Far Away Quarry, Farquhar. And it was only after, during the writing process of Tank Engine Thomas again that Audrey got back into modeling, so he like revisited a lot of those concepts and brought them back into Thomas's branch line, including Farquhar and Annie, and he made a little duplicate of Annie to be Clarabelle. So, yeah, that's why they're not named here.
Technically speaking, Annie's model from Audrey's Model Railway is the oldest piece of Thomas history.
Yeah. I really like how Gordon and Thomas respect each other now. This is amazing character development, and I love it.
Yes, oh my god!
And like, Edward and Henry being mentioned too, like they'll stop and visit him. It's so lovely. I love it. This book's so good.
It would be nice if they mentioned James as well.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised too. Like, you'd think they'd say, oh, and James stops by too.
Yeah.
It would be, like, I will say, like, do you think that the thing of, like, they all come by and, like, Gordon's, like, always, like, whistles to say hello was the inspiration for the scene where they're all congratulating him?
I could see it,
Maybe.
honestly.
Also, I want to say, like, I mentioned this in the original recording. Thomas is whistling to Gordon. He's saying hello in the illustration.
And he looks so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God,
it's cute. I really like this.
Yeah, this is such a good book. So I want to move right into ratings just because I really want to gush about the story. So for the rating, I originally had it in my notes before we recorded the first time that I was going to rate it as a duck. But then after that episode, I upgraded it to a Donald because it kind of like leveled up in score in the same way that Thomas and Gordon did. So yeah, I'm rating the story as a Donald. It's very good. I love it. I feel like I've said all I have to say about this story and more, so I'm gonna let them give their ratings.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure originally I had this at a duck in the notes. I think I bumped it up to a Donald doing the last episode. I forget if I did this in the last episode too, but fuck it, Douglas. Because I genuinely don't have any problems with this. I really, really love it, and it's the perfect ending to this book. It like ties everything together like perfectly. Like Jamie said, there isn't much left to say at this point. I just really love it.
I'm very similar. I said this in the original recording, but before we started that, I said to Jamie, I don't really know what I'm going to say about this one. I feel like I don't have anything really interesting to say. And then we got into recording it, and I was like, shit, this is a really good story. This is really good, and it's a really good capstone to Thomas's like original character arc. And I just had a lot of fun, and I had a lot of fun with the story. I had a lot of fun going through it with both of you, as I do with every episode because you're my friends. So, honestly, like I agree with Marion. I would also say Douglas.
All right. So, 1 Donald and 2 Douglas. Awesome. So,
Doug Walker. Anyway, should we get to book ratings?
Yes, I will go first. Thomas the Tank Engine is a very good book, and frankly, I am astonished that despite being the very second book that the Reverend Audrey wrote, he fucking knocked it out of the park. Like, this is only the second thing he's written, and like, Three Railway Engines was alright, there was plenty of room to grow, but it's so good, and this is only the second one. It is it's no wonder Thomas was the most popular character even before the TV series happened, because this is one of the best books in the series. It's in my top 5. It's so good. I give it a Douglas.
I'm very similar. Douglas for me too. I genuinely, as a whole package, there's nothing really I would change. This beyond just being like, well, where Thomas first appears. This is where the series begins. Everyone who's listening to this, every one of the three of us, everyone who's a fan of this series, in however indirectly, owes it to this book. This is where pretty much everything I love about the series originated. It's really, really fucking good. I don't know how to put it like more eloquently than that, but I obviously we have a long, long way to go. And the one that there's one other that might that I think competes for the spot, at least right now. But this honestly might be my favorite book in the series, and that's not an insult to anything else or like a mark of declining quality or anything. It's just that good.
I like honestly like basically the exact same Douglas again, because like Mary said, we're all here because of this book and because of essentially these 4 stories. And I think a reason that Thomas himself is so popular is because, unlike the Free Railway Engines, this is the first book where we see a full development and then arc for a character.
He's the focus character throughout.
Yeah.
Which wasn't really the case in the Free Railway Engines. Like, Edward got 2, but he wasn't the focus.
And then Henry got 2, but he also wasn't the focus, because, like, it was just kind of an ensemble at the time, whereas, by dedicating all the time to focusing on one character's arc, it really, like, it was, I don't know, the words lightning in a bottle kind of come to mind, but, like, considering how many other Railway series stories are like this that are also very good, I don't know if that's the right phrase.
I think it's where the formula, for lack of a better word, like started, because even in this book he takes the character like ensemble like and pairings that worked in like 3 Railway Engines, where like they paired Edward with like Gordon, and like then they like did a story of all 3 of them. It's like Thomas interacts with it technically, like however small or not, there's a different like character that Thomas interacts with. Yeah.
He has Gordon in Thomas and Gordon. He has Henry in Thomas's train. He has Edward in Thomas and the Trucks, and he has James in Thomas and the Breakdown Train.
Yeah.
I feel like this book establishes a ton of small things that eventually become really big things later in the series. Because, this is, where we see, hey, engines are going to reappear from book to book, because we get the original 3. And then we get, we're going to get new characters in Thomas and James. This is where, we see Edward's station. For, maybe not the first time, but it's the first time it's really focused on. It's the first time Really Useful Engine is name dropped. It's the first time we see Henry's tunnel again. It's the first time we meet a tank engine, and we find out what their relationship to tender engines is generally. First time we talk about the trucks a lot. It brings in a lot of things that on their own don't seem particularly notable, but when you see how many of the little small pieces of the series it brought to the table, it's really important in the general tapestry of the series.
Every story even focuses on I didn't think of this till you said it, but every story even focuses on a different part of the railway, because the first story has Thomas involved with like Gordon's Express, which is like a major recurring thing from like this point on. And then like Thomas's train is like a show of like day-to-day passenger work trains, I guess. And then like Edward Edward's goods train. Thomas and the
Thomas
Trucks.
pulls Edward's goods train.
Yeah, which is like the first time we really see like how the trucks act with that, and like and then the next one introduces like the breakdown train and like crashes, and yeah.
Yeah, it's like each time they introduce like a new aspect of the railway to Thomas.
And
Yeah.
it never feels bloated or like there's too much.
Yeah.
This is a good book.
It's
Yeah.
a good book. You know, we owe everything to this little fuck.
Yeah, there's a reason we all
Love him or hate him, he do be spitting straight facts.
Like, this is the thing. It is a joke to say that Thomas, like, the character kind of sucks. We all fucking love him for a reason.
Yeah.
There is a reason that we still talk about this series, and there's a reason that the three of us met, and the reason there is a fan base, and the reason that Bachman Train's biggest moneymaker is Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah,
there's a reason that I own 68 fucking My Thomas story library books plus copies of like half of them.
And it's because this guy's endearing.
Yeah, he's an amazing character, and even if Mattel can't see it, there's a reason that he's lasted this long.
Yeah.
honestly, I think it's a reason that even with this blow, the franchise will live on. Like, no matter what the future holds, I don't ever think the series will be dead permanently. And
He's too strong of a character,
yeah,
and like I know like different countries have different like perceptions of the character, but he's still known around the world.
He's got staying power. He's just good.
He's far beyond most kids' characters, because like if you think of stuff like you know, people were talking about Paw Patrol a lot a few years ago with Thomas. Paw Patrol, it didn't last.
Like, that's dying right now.
Yeah, it's not made it. It's like it's still getting episodes, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't next year. It's like, whereas Thomas, this book came out in 1946, and he's still getting content, and that's like so long ago, and he's still here.
It really says something about just, you know, the staying power of Thomas as a character, that despite all of Mattel's decisions that are tanking the brand, you know, kids still love him.
or really any road bump the series is. Like, obviously, this is
like this isn't the first hurdle Thomas has gone through by any stretch, but just the fact that kids still like Thomas despite all of the things that has happened over the years. The fact that we still care after all these years is just a testament to how good Thomas and the Railway series and the Classic series and the Brenner series are, because they all have the same just spark and charm to them. And this book was really important in establishing that, period. Like, literally everything. You know, from the art style that the TV series would go on to keep using, from the character interactions and personalities, to just Thomas himself. Like, this is one of the most integral parts of Thomas just because of how influential and just how good it is.
I think it's important to note that, like, not every brand would survive a bomb like Magic Railroad.
You know, that, like, flop movies like that kills lesser brands. Fucking then trying to expand the marketing to even a fraction of like Thomas's level is what like bankrupted the company that made Theodore Tugboat. Like, it wasn't even that the show was doing badly, it's that just they weren't like they didn't
wasn't it the like Theodore 2 that just killed them?
Yeah, it was like they spent too much on like marketing projects and stuff like that, and it's like they didn't have the money to keep afloat. Whereas, like, Thomas released a box office bomb. Like, that kills lesser brands, and it almost did with the series, and it didn't. And, like, Thomas is still, like, synonymous with... Ask, like, any person, like, about... I guess just say, like, Trains to Them. Thomas at this point is probably what comes to mind.
Thomas, I believe Jamie pointed this out when we were talking about the first illustration in Thomas and Gordon. Thomas's silhouette is now what people think of when they think of a steam engine.
When they think of trains in general, honestly.
Yeah, like, it's... Thomas's influence is just... There's so much to it, it's kind of hard to comprehend.
And this is the thing, I'm loving this, but I feel like if we keep going, we're never gonna stop.
Yeah.
It's like we're like troublesome trucks. We're just bumping into each other.
Should I do the song again?
No.
If anything, we should do fucking
That's
really
James.
useful.
He's a really
useful and Jay.
No.
Thank you for listening to the Railway Series Book
We
Club.
love you. Wrong
Love
song.
you. Yeah, that's. Thomas has 2 songs dedicated to how good he is.
Yeah.
More if you count others.
Thanks for listening to the Railway Series Book Club.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Railway Series Book Club. I've been Jamie.
I've been Marina.
I have been Liv, except maybe I haven't. Who
Bye,
knows?
everyone.
And we'll see you next time in James
Bye-bye.
the Red Engine.